spend much time in Washington anymore, and I don't miss it. I give a lot of speeches in Washington. One thing I know that's different from Washington than coming out here is I never got any applause when I was in Washington. It was always good to leave Washington. But Carlos, thank you for the very nice introduction. It is a delight to be here. It's a favorite subject of mine. I was asked to talk about Austrian economics and the Federal Reserve. And I've been preparing for this now for 40 years, so I hope I can give you a good talk about it. But it has been a subject that's been of great interest to me. You know, this past week I had several calls from the media, and they asked a lot of different questions. I thought they wouldn't call as much, not being in politics anymore. I guess you never leave. It's sort of like being in the CIA. You never get out of it. So I'm still in politics. But the most frequent question I'm getting now is, if you had to, you could pick between the two candidates for the chairman of the Federal Reserve, which one would you pick? And I said, well, it's a tough pick, but my choice is Noda. My check is Mr. Noda. They said, what are you talking about? Who's Mr. Noda? None of the above. So that's my position on who should be chair of Federal Reserve Board chairman. Of course, why would you need a chairman if you don't have the Federal Reserve System? So that should be our goal, and hopefully someday that will happen. People think that is a rather strange position, but you know, there was a time when we didn't have a central bank. They thought of that for a long time before they settled in 100 years ago, and now we've been living with it. Just think of the stability we've had and all the wonderful things that we've done. They were brought about to have a stable dollar. Yeah, they basically it's stabilized at 98% less value than it was in 1913. So I would say they haven't, done a very good job. But I became fascinated with this whole subject probably during the 60s. I can recall coming across some books and things about economics. It wasn't readily available to us like it is today. I mean, you can find the books and you can find stuff on the internet. But back then there were probably 0 professors in our universities. We were all taught the same stuff on economics, and that still dominates our universities. But the truth is out there, and it's easily found, but you had to search. So I feel very lucky that I was born with curiosity, which means that most of you here have curiosity too, because you wouldn't be at a conference like this if you're not curious about what makes the world tick and how does the economy run. So I was curious, and I just thought there was something wrong with what I had been fed on economics. And I can remember taking an early course in college on economics, and I had always been naturally interested in money because as a kid we still had silver in the coins, and I became a coin collector. I was a newspaper boy, and we did retail delivery and milk, and I went through all the coinage, always looking for dates and things. But at least you could save a coin. It was silver, and had some value. And I had this vague notion about what money was, but when I got to college, they explained it to me, that they're just digits in the bank, that there's not always money there. All that paper money and what's in your checking account, if you don't say, I want my silver coin or even the silver certificate, it wasn't there. It was only a fraction. And that just bewildered me. I thought, how can that work? I mean, the money really isn't there. And it was pretty amazing that it worked then. It's pretty amazing to me that it still, lives along and works to some degree with a lot of pain and suffering from it. But I work on the assumption that won't last forever either, because that's going to be becoming unraveled. And I think we're at the beginning stages of that. It's going to get much worse. But with this interest in it, I came across some of the literature, in the 1960s. I found Hayek's book, The Road to Serfdom. That sort of stirred my interest, and he got some national attention. He had won a Nobel Prize. So I read that, and that introduced me to Austrian economics. And from there, I did discover that there was an economist named Ludwig von Mises, and the literature was there, but it was still not easy to find. They didn't give it to me when I was in college. And there weren't too many organizations around that, provided it for it. But I came across an organization, probably nobody in this room has ever heard of it. It's called the Foundation for Economic Education. And this is Leonard Reed's group. And I met Leonard Reed, and he was a fascinating person. He was really a great motivator. And what I give him credit for so much is instruction on how to present our issues. You know, it's the tone that we use, and I thought he was a real delight. He also had the literature, so corresponding with him and meeting him, going back and forth to New York and attending these seminars was very, very helpful. And over the years, though, in